would like to call this council meeting of January 13th, 2021 to order. Please stand for the invocation and pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, this is a special evening for us today. We're grateful to be alive. We're thankful for all that you've given us. We continue to pray for the leadership of this country after what's happened in recent events. We also continue to pray for the leaders of this town. Pray for stability, respect, but also that you would bless our leadership with integrity and goodwill for the benefit of the town. In Heavenly Father we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and thank you for adhering to CDC guidelines for the safety of everyone. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Noble? Here. Councilmember Delaney?
Here.
Mayor Nicholas?
Here.
Vice Mayor Powell?
Present.
Councilmember Hall?
Here.
Manager Campbell?
Here.
Attorney Moore?
Present.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda, we have the consent agenda for January. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be removed?
I got a question about the 46th Avenue that we went over, that was on that.
Okay, is that an item that we need to remove, Attorney Moore, to discuss?
I don't see 46th Avenue as an item on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Okay, good. We'll move on.
Okay. So seeing that we're not removing any items, I need a motion to approve the agenda for January.
As Bonnie says, motion.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda, we have the town employee recognition. Chief Kevin Riley has retired from his position as police chief for Kennett City, and we would like to recognize his service to the town. He came to us at a time that his skill set was very needed. He has improved the morale within the department as well as made numerous procedural and safety improvements. He worked tirelessly to make our PD the best it could be. His leadership to achieve accreditation is commendable. Without a doubt, our force is well trained and versed in maintaining the safety and well-being of our residents in our town. We wish him well as he moves on in his journey to the next chapter in his life. On behalf of the chief, Sergeant Vino is accepting this plaque for the chief, and Sergeant Vino has made arrangements to ensure that the chief receives this plaque. The plaque has our town logo and the police badge on it, and it says, Chief Riley, in recognition of your commitment to the town of Kennett City, your loyal dedication and service to the police department is an example for others to follow. From 2015 to 2021, Mayor Wanda Dudley and Town Council. Sergeant Vino? Air shake.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have open forum. I would like to clarify the procedures for open forum, or otherwise known as public comment. Any member of the audience may come forward, give his/her name and address, and state any comment or concern that he/she may have regarding any matter over which the town council has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the town council should be made to the town council as a whole, not directed to any individual town council member, and no personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall take place within the speaker and town council. Open forum public comment is for comments only. If you have a question, please direct that to Town Hall via email or phone call. For those that are speaking, in fairness and respect, please adhere to 3 minutes. It is not procedural for us to respond to public comment. Council, I am requesting that you refrain from responding to comments. Okay, Ian?
Tonight, we have Mr. Paul Ash of 6412 44th Avenue.
bushes at the end of our street, 43rd actually, where you cannot see traffic coming from the north. It's unsafe trying to make an exit from that street. You cannot see pedestrians, walking, bicyclists. Bushes still aren't cut. It's not getting any better. I wish something could be done about it. Secondly, I'm assuming that we spent tens of thousands of dollars for the marquees we have. And I'm just disappointed in what they're used for. We had a tree lighting ceremony for Christmas, which I know no one was to come to, but I never saw it on the marquee. We had the packets that were available for candidates running for office, never saw it on the marquee. We had a townwide garage sale, never saw it on the marquee. But what I did see on the marquee was town hall was closed. Now, I would think if someone would go to town hall, you could have a letter, whatever you want to call, on the door to say we're closed, and not have it on the marquees. The marquees should be used for town-wide business or activity, not just to say that the town hall is closed. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else?
That concludes our list.
Okay. Is there anyone else for public comment who was not able to sign in? Okay, I will close open forum. Moving on in the agenda to old business. Number 1, we have the CIP review, which is the capital improvement plan. This was a request on the agenda by Councilmember Noble, so I'm turning that over to Councilmember Noble.
Should I printed these out so it'll be easy for you all to follow along? If you want a soft copy of this for your notes, just let me know, so you don't have to type it all again. So when I, became, elected for council member, one of my first things was, I was very large, and I still am, on communication out to the town. And, I asked if there was a, the 10-year plan, or a 10-year plan. And, I received the 10-year plan that was done when Mr. Campbell first came here. And so, I kind of wanted to know, when was the last time we went out and actually asked the town what their interest is in these, improvement plans? And because again, communication for me is, very, very big. And so I wanted to know, do we go out, do we survey, do we do anything? It's kind of apparent to me that we don't. There was at one time, 7 years ago, a plan done, and that's been it. And so in 15-16, the capital fund balance was $2,666,180. 2021, the capital fund reserve balance is $3,403,093. So, I mean, there's a gain of over $700,000. And so I was going through the, what has been done, what hasn't been done. And so, for instance, our Ernest Park, we have, and Mr. Campbell did update me on the tennis court this week, but it's gonna have continuous cracks in it, which is gonna cost us money, and this was something, and I guess it wasn't covered under warranty. In addition to that, we pay a third-party vendor, I have discovered, and what really set me, akin to that is when, Justin came in and did his review, and he told us about the grants that he's gotten, how he gets the SIP for the year, and then he does his projects. And so, for instance, like when we got the, park canopy, Justin got $1,758. When we put the dog park in, Justin got $2,098. Justin got $4,000 for applying for a grant. We have the splash pad, that doesn't work to this day. It, it runs out of water pressure, and that cost, $5,800. And this stuff that Justin is doing is not the work, so he's calling people, and he's just, being like the project manager on these projects. So this is a lot of money, like I say, the splash pad doesn't work, there's no sprinklers in the park, there's a lot of money being wasted. We also have the Public Works building that just got done. And it was several months ago, I asked if we could pump gas out of the, if we had an emergency. And the answer was yes, but then it was changed to no. That still hasn't been fixed. We got, and I found out that there was no wiring put in for the generator. So now if we have an emergency, we have this big gas tank, and we can't pump water, or we can't pump petrol out of it if we have an emergency. And with this, Justin received $27,365. That was for the design of the building, and to go and basically be the project manager, to make sure that the metal building got put up. Justin also, received, almost $3,000 for community hall resurfacing. That hasn't even been done yet. And I don't understand why we're paying Justin for these things and we don't get them done. I mean, is he doing what is he doing for this money? Justin also received money for community hall signage. I have no idea what the community hall signage is around here. That I have to assume that wasn't done either. We're supposed to have a generator replacement. That was supposed to be done for community hall. That was supposed to be done in 1819. That hasn't been completed. Now it's scheduled for 2021. It's my understanding that until we get this generator replaced, the generator won't be moved over to the other building, so we won't be able to pump petrol out of the ground. And it's still not wired for that. And the street signs is another thing. We did get that put on to have done this year. But we had talked about this prior to that. There was an intern that came out and did an inventory of all the street signs when Mr. Campbell first came here. And there's been, every year, there's been at least $5,000 or $10,000 since 2015 budgeted to replace our street signs. Our street signs are still out, they're too small. When I brought this up, Mr. Campbell said that our street signs were grandfathered in. You cannot grandfather in safety. If something's a safety problem, you cannot grandfather that in. So since 2015, we haven't had our street signs replaced. We haven't had anything done with them. It's been budgeted, so it's not like we didn't have the money. It's been budgeted for since 2015. Mr. Campbell told me stickers were purchased over 2 years ago to maintain our inventory, and that also tells you how long your reflective material lasts and everything. There's been no stickers put on any of our signs. There's just none. I've looked at almost all of them. There is none. Our signs are too small. There's no reflective on it. It's a huge liability for the town. If somebody runs a stop sign and they didn't see it because there's no reflective, or you can't even see the word stop on it, that's a serious problem for our town. Schleck Park renovations have been in there since, 1819. That was supposed to be a gazebo, a dock, and additional parking. You know, I shop at Canoe Country a lot, and they just quit asking me because they wanted to come down and, use our pond for, to have a dock built and put, kayaks in there when somebody wanted to buy a kayak. That would also give us a little bit of revenue. And, you know, and I know there's fishing with the cops and things, that they could use the dock for that. Again, that has been budgeted since 1819. Nothing's been done. We have the stormwater master plan that was first budgeted in 1718. That hasn't been done. You know, it was scheduled, for completion in 1819. Now it's back on the schedule for 20, 21, 21, 22. We need to do the, master plan before we can even address the stormwater improvements that were first on there in 1718. And now that's pushed out to 1920, 2021. So you can't do that, and you can't do the street improvements, which has been budgeted. All of this stuff has been budgeted. Street improvements were budgeted for 15, 16. Hasn't been done. You can't do that really until you do your stormwater improvements. The, town community hall, parking resurfacing, again, 1718. It's been budgeted, 1819, 1920, 2021. Hasn't been done. And then we have, 47th Avenue parallel parking. That was budgeted for, 1920, 2021, not done either. Lake Lorry parking, scheduled for 1920, that's not done. We have the VFW memorial relocation, and I don't understand why it costs $75,000 to move a stone and a flag, but that was scheduled for 1920, 2021, and now 21, 22. And some more things that it just, apparently we just called Justin to do these things. There's a 54th Avenue tree removal, $918. Justin got to have somebody come and do the work. Again, we had another one, 54th Avenue tree removal and replacement, $1,269. And then we had Justin, we called Justin because the Clearview Oaks dumpster needed relocating. That was $105. The pond fountains, we paid Justin $14,615 to do that. In stormwater grant, we paid him, $2,700. 66th Street, landscaping, which I don't even know what that is, but we paid Justin over $1,500 to do that. Town Hall entryway improvements, we paid Justin $1,300. Town Hall security and space use, we paid Justin $20,000. And then for the, town park security, RFP, we paid Justin to write an RFP, which is a simple project management job. We paid him $157. And that's just some of the things that I have gone over that just haven't been done. And when I tried to bring this up before, there was no reason why any of this hasn't been done. And I think it's important for the town to know, and for the town to know that how much we're paying Justin and, you know, for tree removal and to move call to have dumpsters moved and things. I'm very concerned about our money. You know, again, because we had to increase the, taxes this year, and I will go over, more stuff, but I figured that was enough for tonight.
I hear that you, have lots of questions, and many of the questions that you're asking are fact-finding, And when you have fact-finding questions, that is when you contact the town manager, and you can either schedule a meeting with him, or you can put it in writing and send it in email. It's my understanding that a CIP plan is approved at budget time, and these things that you're going over were all approved last year during budget time. That would be the time when you go and you meet with the manager and he goes over that plan. Right now, he is taking the plan that the previous, this council, I mean, we went through budget, we approved it, and it doesn't mean that it's in stone. I mean, it is a plan, it's projected, things happen. That change, how you're implementing all these things. Some of these things are requests that council members have asked for, and he's doing his best to put this into the plan. I'll take responsible for the monument to be moved. That was one of the things that I had talked to him about. Doesn't mean that it's gonna happen overnight. And it may happen that once I'm gone, that may be something that's taken out of the plan. That's not something that anyone wants to do. I also feel like a lot of the things that you're saying are having to understand how this all works. It costs money, and I know the numbers are mind-boggling, and maybe that's because it's your first go-around on council. It does, it's an eye-opener when you see what it costs. And we've had members in the past that are like, well, I could find somebody who can do that for less, but it doesn't work that way, okay? We have to have an engineer. That's just how it is. The other thing you mentioned about the 7 years ago asking the residents their input, that was not about a CIP plan in particular. That was taking a beautification fund, which was something that Megan's mom, Mayor Zamitis, put in place. And that was something that was unique. That was something we've never had before. And so he did go above and beyond and organize that to get the residents' input. Typically, all these other things you're saying, that's what we are for. We represent the people, and then we would come here and we would present that this is what the residents are saying that they want, not necessarily having a big meeting and doing what we did then. I myself, I do not see a need to readdress this based on what I just said. I appear to me that many of these things are day-to-day plans, and that's what we pay the town manager for. I don't have the expertise to be making those decisions. So, it's also my understanding from previous meetings with Attorney Mora that for us to take this, and maybe as a whole, or maybe it needs to be broken down to move forward to a workshop, we need consensus of council. In my opinion, I do not see a need to readdress this. Our engineer was here at the last meeting, and I'm comfortable with how things are moving along. So I'm gonna ask the other council members what their feeling is, and if we have consensus to move it to a workshop.
I'll start. I hear Councilmember Noble's concerns. I agree when Justin was here, he did clarify a lot of questions that I had internally, and I feel like he did address some of Councilmember Noble's concerns. Again, this is the first time I have laid eyes on this information, so correct me if anything I say might be wrong. I mean, I agree, like, I remember there being a need for a new generator, but then if we're buying a new generator, is there really no way to connect the generator? Like, is that a real thing? Because then that is a concern, like, I understand that maybe we don't need to go through all of it, but if some of the things that are in this document are factual, then I have concerns then, because why purchase a brand new generator? I remember in the budget, that was a hefty cost, a generator large enough to power that building, and then it can't even be connected?
Okay, two things, do you mind if I respond? I did my best to take notes quickly, but I wasn't provided a copy of that document.
There were 7 of them, you should have been.
The other thing is, there's so much data on that
opportunity for at least a written response. Typically in a city or county management situation, if there's a request for something on the agenda, you wanna be able to give staff an opportunity to prepare so that there's a good, healthy discussion. I could take the next couple hours easily going through all of these items because there's something that's been done on every single one of them. And I can tell you, when it comes to a CIP plan for any town, it's like having a really large stove, and you've got all sorts of pots on that stove. You could have 40 pots on the stove. You might have one pot that's got turnip greens that are gonna be ready in 20 minutes. You could have a pot that's empty. You could have a pot that's got soup on it that was made 2 days ago that's ready to be eaten. And you could have a pot that's got frozen meat in it that hasn't even been added water. It's my job to multitask. If I just did one project at a time and then got through with that project and did another project, not all projects are gonna reveal their results, just like a farm, at the same time. That's why you have crop rotation, et cetera. In this particular case, everything that was mentioned, there's efforts that have been done on it. I think the biggest thing is town and the city cannot afford to pay for a PE, a full-time professional engineer. We contract out with a professional engineer to assist us with engineering-related duties within the town. I think that list that Councilmember Noble was working off of was a summary of all of the expenditures that our contractual town engineer provided to the town over the course of the last 5 years. It totaled roughly, I don't have that list in front of me, but roughly $145,000 worth of, consulting expenditures. A ton of those projects have been done. A lot of those projects require inspections and that we meet state standards, et cetera. So in reality, the trees within 54, palm trees, they die. We replace them. We needed to utilize those services and those contacts to be able to get those done so that we don't have a 54th Avenue North that's missing one big decorative palm tree because it was damaged due to blight or due to disease, et cetera. The Clearview Oaks dumpster was a situation. I could go on and on. Canoe country. I know Scotty very well. I've known him ever since I've been within the town. If he ever has a problem with a canoe launch, he'd call me. I mean, we're actually considered, friends. But even still, we put money in the budget for certain projects. Some of them have been done. Some of them we've experienced problems because invariably one project always leads to another. We found, for example, my job as a manager is to throw projects out there because I feel as though we have a good handle on what needs to be done within the town. Community hall parking lot, perfect example. We put money in there thinking that it was gonna cost roughly $100,000 to resurface it. We took core samples of that parking lot, because typically before you bring in the apparatus to grind it down and resurface it, you wanna make sure you've got a substantial core. There's no core on that parking lot whatsoever. The asphalt that we have out there is it. So literally, in order to redo the parking lot, it's gonna be a much bigger job than what we had originally estimated. So, since that's tied to 58th Street and the trail project, the 46th Avenue Trail project, the resurfacing of the driveway for the fire department, oh, by the way, it's tied to the sidewalk job, that's the responsibility of the county, because we've determined that it's substandard out in front of the police station. County has to earmark funding for that. We don't want to expend dollars. It's all interrelated. So what I'm trying to say is if we had just focused on that, we wouldn't have gotten Public Works building done. We wouldn't have gotten the canopy done for the playground. We wouldn't have done other projects. Street resurfacing, we've done a little bit of street signs every single year. I think Ken Moore could even attest. There are signs out in the town that have those labels on them. So what I'm trying to say is not to do a tit for tat, but we have a really good handle on what's been done in the town and what needs to be done. And, if there's general public comment or recommendations, we've already committed to, when we get closer to budget, to have an actual CIP budget workshop where we can present our suggestions to council
council can open it up to the general public, and the general public can say, well, we'd like to see this investigated, or we'd like to see that. We can come up with cost estimates, et cetera, and then put it in the budget. So, everything we have is a working project, and just look around the town, there's a lot that's been accomplished within this town. So it's, either we look at the glass as being half empty or half full, but there's a lot that's been done, there's a lot yet to be done. But for someone to say nothing has been done, I think if we were to ask the general public, just look around, lots been done.
I'm gonna go back to, Councilmember Midas. So you've made some comments, so I'm looking though for consensus. How are you feeling about taking any of this and moving it to a workshop?
I'm fine with leaving it tonight at the table here, but I would like an answer though, will the generator connect? Cause like, I understand everything you said, and I understand how projects work and things get delayed and things happen, but will the generator connect, yes or no?
Yes, and the generator, and this is, I'm gonna fill you in. The generator on this building is sufficient for 70 to 80% of the circuitry here, okay? It works. When we renovated this hall, we mapped out all the circuits so that we could make sure that existing generator would work for our purposes to the best of our ability. We put in a future out year budget to replace this generator so we get one that would operate all the circuitry. We did not have a plan for a generator for the Public Works building because at the time, the old Public Works building had a portable generator that operated the fuel pump. So what I thought was, trying to be a visionary, we're gonna free up in a future out year this generator in this particular building. Rather than trash it and waste $30,000-$40,000, I thought, why don't we repurpose that if it can be repurposed at the Public Works building? It can be reconnected, but when we built the Public Works building at the time, we only had a certain amount of budget for that building. We did not create a stub out for a generator. So we're basically taking a free generator from this building, repurposing it at the Public Works building. Yes, we're going to have an electrical connection, et cetera. It's gonna be hidden behind the fence, not a problem. But until we get to that point, we've been working with Raz Electric for 6 months to get parts so that we can get, Cal have to correct me, there's a special switch that has to be thrown manually so that you can operate a portable generator to be able to operate our fuel pump. We have that, it's engineered, et cetera, but we've been waiting on parts, they just have been back ordered. So, in the meantime, we have a relationship with Racetrack, we have those WIX gas cards, so that our law enforcement personnel or public works personnel can go down to Racetrack or any gas station and use the state-approved gas cards. They can go down there during inclement weather, they can go down there now, if our fuel pump's not operational during a storm. So, all of that's being programmed, it's in progress, but yes, we will be able to connect the generator to the, the Public Works building when we get a new generator for this building. We had originally had that in an out year, so 21 or 22, because it wasn't absolutely needed here. What we have is perfectly sufficient, we spent a lot of time and effort on it. But Chief at the time had requested that we move it up into this year's budget. So that's why we got to working on it. So that's how we are where we are today.
No, I understand now, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay, but I do need to ask you to, you're looking for consensus. You are interested in moving this to a workshop, yes or no?
Well, can I have a few remarks?
Yes,
also?
you may.
Okay. I want to tell you about my experience, what I see, what's going on here. My wife and I have been married for 50 years. During that 50 years, we have been self-employed the entire time. We used to have 3 restaurants, 100 employees, and 6 full-time managers. We went from that to a carpet cleaning service that is 40 years old, and we're very successful in that carpet cleaning service. I retired at 45. We did that, we turned around and got a commercial janitorial service. One of our main clients is the Museum of Fine Arts. I got into flood restoration service. I'm in charge of 29 different condo associations, thousands of condos that my wife and I are responsible for, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Then I got my builder's license, so that I could repair the things that we do in these flood restorations. And I would defy anybody in here to take my seat and know my job and know how to do it, because it's taken me 50 years to develop this skill. I have never, ever, in my 50 years of management, ran a city, okay? I have never been a city manager. I don't have the college degrees to be a city manager. I do have a doctorate degree in School of Hard Knocks, okay? When I talked to Matt before I was ever on city council, when he came on, I wasn't even on the city council, and I told Matt, I said, Matt, I'm gonna tell you something, I know a lot of people in this city, if you don't do your job, what am I gonna do to you, Matt?
You're gonna fire me.
I'm gonna fire you, it's exactly what I told you, okay? And I tell you today, take the bull by the horns, or you're out of here, okay? I defy anybody in here to step into this man's position and do the job that he does. He has connections everywhere, he's got other city managers, he's got just, every city around here, he knows somebody. He has a network that's phenomenal. I give the man the credit for his job. Now, if you want me to really take up your time sitting here in this meeting, I have 9 pages of things that has happened in this town of Kansas City, okay? 9 pages. And I'm sure you don't want me to sit here and read each one of them, but if you're interested in this, and you want to hear the other side, I suggest that you ask me for this, and I'll give you a copy of it, to understand what's going on. As far as the consensus goes, to have a workshop, I don't think it's needed. I am dead set against it. Matt, do your job, period.
Thank you. Larry?
I'm in agreement with the vice mayor. I'd like to make a couple comments on Bonnie's list here. She seemed to have an issue with our town engineer, or who's contracted with Justin. Any job, whether it's in construction, usually has a general contractor or a contractor. The contractor has people that he either hires or actually work for him. That contractor gets paid for his knowledge and skill. That's just common, everyday business. And that's what Justin does. So I don't see what the issue is here. I mean, if you want to get hit on him, I guess that's okay. But he's acting as essentially the general contractor, and then he gets the people to do the job. So that's just standard in any town. That's all I have to say on that. Well, yeah, no, I have one more thing. In our town with the signage, there's no doubt that they're pretty dated. We need to replace them. But I've driven around this town and looked at virtually every sign, not every, but most of them, seeing if there's what I consider a safety issue. And I don't see it. There's maybe 1 or 2 signs that have bushes grown in front of a sign that needs to be trimmed. As far as being invisible or so bad that you can't see it, there's a mention that we're at risk. We're always at risk. And you had mentioned that Canoe Country, putting in canoes on our portion of the lake. We're at risk. If somebody's putting in a canoe there and somebody gets injured, they can sue us. We're at risk. But that's a risk that we kind of accept to a certain degree. We don't be stupid, but we are at risk. And it's the same for signs. We will get them replaced, but as far as the sky falling regarding those, no, not an issue. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. So based on the council comments with this agenda item, it is evident that the council does not need to take action right now. So moving on to, under old business number 2, the update regarding police chief, Manager Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly as an update on this, we did have 2 candidates that we brought in for a council meet and greet that actually occurred last Monday night. And they were 2 local candidates. This was the process where we originally ended up with roughly 21 initial candidates. We narrowed it down to a pool of 7, or actually 6. One of the candidates took a position elsewhere early on in the process. We interviewed 5 through remote interview process. We actually narrowed it down realistically to two that we wanted to bring in for at least the council to meet. I will be quite honest with you, every single one of those candidates was stellar in their own right. They all had the capabilities to be able to do this job. What we found was the two that we decided that we would bring to coordinate meetings with council, we felt like they'd be realistically the best fit for the organization at the time. But all five of them are experts in their field. I have nothing bad to say about any of them. They truly, with a reasonable amount of time, could come into Kansas City and really do a great job. Because they've obviously done phenomenal jobs in their careers elsewhere, or they wouldn't have been candidates for our position. The two that we brought in, I'll be quite honest with you, were great. We liked both of them. It was a very difficult decision. The one candidate that seemed to shine for staff, we've had conversations with. However, it's a situation now where we're in negotiation stages, but they're having to deal with some issues with Florida retirement system and things like that. So they've asked that they let us know no later than Friday. I specifically said to them that I can't let you go on any further than that because we have a need for the town. I've had conversations with Sergeant Dino. He obviously early on in the process we had conversations and he agreed to serve on an interim basis. He's doing a great job. I have full confidence in him and his abilities, and I'm grateful to work with him. So the benefit is we're proceeding forward with our process, and I'm grateful for the council's input on this process. Yes, it's ultimately the town manager's decision to choose a police chief for the best of the entire organization, but we don't have a decision yet. And as much as I'd like to say we do, we're working through the process. But I am keeping communication with both of those applicants. We're not opposed to going back out again, but at this particular time, we're going to try to work with the resources that we have with these two candidates.
I would like to thank you for, and also for staff, with Cindy and Ian, all you guys, for being there that night and scheduling and working that all out. It went very smooth and we were very professional, and thank you very much for that. Thank you, Manager Campbell. We have completed conducting the business of our meeting. Our next item is comments from council and staff. Just a clarification, remember it is for comments. It's not a question and answer time, and I ask that we please make it brief and simple. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Noble. Okay, Councilmember Snyder. Vice Mayor Howell.
We got them now? Oh.
I
No,
think that's-
I think that, as time goes on, we need to work as a team. We need a good team effort. What's going on, have common goals.
Thank you. Councilmember Hall.
I'd like to thank Sergeant Gino for stepping up. It's much appreciated, and I know that he is quite capable, and things will run smoothly. Again, thank you.
Manager Campbell.
I just briefly want to update you on two things. We did have a pre-development meeting with the contractor, MTM contractors, to do the 46th Avenue improvement. They will actually be starting the project on the 18th, so that's Monday. And we're excited. It's roughly going to be a 6-month project. There will be what's called maintenance of traffic, which is typically required for any sort of engineering project. The county, you're going to see from time to time their white county SUVs out because they're going to be jointly inspecting the project. This is one of the largest single projects within the town. It's going to be uncomfortable for a certain period of time for certain residents, as is any construction project would be. But I'm confident that once it's complete by middle of June, that you're really going to see a dramatic improvement in a resource within the town. So I just want to tell you that I appreciate your patience as a community now and moving forward. And obviously the engineering firm and the contractors and the inspection crews, we're doing everything we can to minimize impacts to the community wherever we can. There will be some of the construction workers, we've given them the permission to park and store very, very minimal materials on the south you may see some materials in there, you may see some construction traffic through there, but honestly, it's, I think the improvements are going to be great. They're actually going to work, east to west, so that's their overall goal. So that's from the 55th Street ditch on the east to 62nd Street. So we're confident that that's going to be a really good project. So that's going to be in the works, and I have nothing else at this time. Thank you.
Attorney Moore?
No report, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I just wanted to let you know that obviously the qualifying period has ended, and we have 2 mayoral candidates and 5 council member candidates for the election on the 9th. And I also wanted to let you know that I have taken 5 courses in the past month for my certification, and I have another 3 that'll be done by the end of the month.
Thank you. I would like to thank council for a professional and civil meeting tonight. And I have saved my comments for last. I am the only one on this current council that has served on this council for the duration of Matthew Campbell's time as our town manager. That's been 7 years. I also served 7 years prior to that when we didn't have a town manager. I have worked with 4 lawyers, 4 police chiefs, and 1 interim chief, and I'm looking forward to working with Sergeant Bino. I have served on the Board of Adjustments and the Charter Review Committee, as well as I have been a Kenneth City resident for 37 years. I've experienced a lot with Kenneth City. I also was a part of the interview process when we were hiring the town manager. Matthew was not my first choice. My first choice was an applicant that had more experience. My thoughts at the time were that we were changing our form of government and it was our first town manager. I thought we needed someone with experience to guide us through the challenging transition. But I am a team player and I embrace the decision to hire Matthew. I've made it clear that yes, I am aware that he has made mistakes, but he admits his mistakes and takes responsibility for them. Yes, sometimes he is forgetful, but he does respond to reminders. Here are some of his accomplishments. The beautification on 54th Avenue, which I refer to that Megan's mom, Mayor Zamitis at the time, I give her full credit for establishing the beautification account, but Matthew has executed the projects, such as the Ernst Park, the playground with canopy, the dog park, all of the renovating of our buildings, the beautification of our town lakes, the digital signs in front of Town Hall and PD, our community branding. We are a safe, friendly, small town with our architectural entry signs and directional signs for buildings. He created our first CIP, Capital Improvement Plan. He realigned the budget so that penny for Pinellas is properly earmarked. He has addressed storm drains, stormwater plan, and pipes installed. He's addressed our roads and resurfacing, as he mentioned. I know it's not as quickly and as fast as we would like. And I have a long list, and I am going to kind of piggyback on you. I'm not going to sit here and read it all. You're welcome to ask, but there is a long list, and I don't even have all of them because mine is not 9 pages long, okay? So I'm going to stop at that. I'm going to add now. This is how I see his character. He has an open door policy. He's an outside the box thinker. His assertiveness with diplomacy, the ability to respond in detail with facts to an email, still being respectful, assertive, and diplomatic. He's a mindful budgeter. He gets the best bang for our buck. He finds ways to save the town money. Trust me, there are times I have gone to him and said, okay, I think we need to spend a little bit more money. We need to step it up here. He has a large resource of contacts, as Vice Mayor said. If he doesn't know the answer, he knows who to contact. He faces conflict, he finds solutions. He promotes fairness and an open work environment by minimizing turnover. He puts his heart and soul into the job, and he works very hard for us. Between his accomplishments and his character, his positives far outweigh the negative. I believe that we all ran for council in order to keep Kenneth City moving forward. We may not always agree, and that's okay as long as we keep civility at the forefront. I do not approve of some of the behavior and the actions previously to tonight that are leading us down a road of negativity. With negativity, the results are never positive. This town has had an administrative team, a chief, a town manager, and a mayor for the past 6 years that have been very involved in our town in achieving our accomplishments. Also, your administrative team has increasingly been more involved at the county level, which I believe has a strong impact on our town. I fully support Councilmember Noble for accepting the position in Forward Pinellas. This is a huge step for us, and I thank her for this. I am currently the president of the Pinellas County Mayor's Council. I had the opportunity to read the Articles of Incorporation as we are going through a change in how the organization is managed. I found out that when the Mayor's Council was incorporated back in the 70s, the mayor of Kenneth City, Mayor Clinton White, was the president of the Mayor's Council. And now, when the council is making another major change for improvement, you have the mayor of Kenneth City is the president of the council. Kenneth City has been at the forefront and played a role during these positive changes in the mayor's council. I have a picture on the wall of my office. Some of you may have seen it. It's a quote by Abraham Lincoln, and I want to end with this. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or we can rejoice because thorns have roses. And on this note, Mother Mayor is signing off. I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.